National politics, alliances are often painted as unbreakable, celebrated with grand gestures, smiling leaders, and promises of everlasting cooperation. Flags wave, cameras flash, and the world is shown a carefully crafted narrative of unity. But beneath the surface, the reality is far more complex. National interests shift, priorities realign, and yesterday's friend can become today's rival with a single tweet or tariff. Before we dive into the unraveling of one such relationship, let's take a closer look at how these alliances are built, and how quickly they can fall apart. But what holds these alliances together? The truth is, international partnerships are less about friendship and more about mutual benefit. Leaders shake hands for the cameras, but in private, every agreement is weighed against the shifting sands of national interest. One day, shared economic goals or security threats bring countries together. The next, a new political leader, a global crisis, or a simple change in market prices can put those same bonds to the test. Take, for example, the India-US partnership. For years, it was hailed as a model of democratic cooperation, two of the world's largest democracies working side by side. But even as leaders praised each other in public, negotiations behind closed doors were often tense, filled with disagreements over trade, defense, and foreign policy. Each side wanted something, and neither was willing to give too much away. This delicate balancing act is the reality of international relations. Alliances are not built on trust alone, but on a constantly shifting calculation of interests. And as we're about to see, when those interests diverge, even the strongest seeming friendships can unravel in an instant. But here's where the story takes an even more unexpected turn. As the US cracked down on India, accusing it of profiteering and turning a blind eye to global crises, Washington's own actions revealed a striking double standard. While publicly criticizing New Delhi, US officials quietly began courting Pakistan once again, a country long accused in Washington of harboring extremists and destabilizing the region. Suddenly, aid packages were dusted off, military cooperation talks resumed, and diplomatic visits increased. The very nation that had been sidelined in favor of India was now back in the spotlight. Was this a principled stand, or simply a pivot motivated by strategic convenience? This move left many in India, and around the world, questioning the sincerity of American foreign policy. Was the so-called friendship with India ever about shared values, or just another piece on a global chessboard? As the US shifted its focus, it became clear. Alliances can change overnight when national interests demand it. And sometimes, yesterday's friend becomes today's bargaining chip. As the diplomatic tides shifted, global powers watched closely. European leaders, already wary of India's energy deals, began issuing stern statements, hinting at sanctions and questioning India's reliability as a partner. Media outlets across continents amplified these criticisms, painting India as opportunistic and self-serving. Meanwhile, in New Delhi, Prime Minister Modi faced mounting pressure. Critics at home accused him of overestimating the strength of the US-India alliance and underestimating Washington's willingness to change course. Was this a strategic blunder? Many analysts argued that India's foreign policy had become too reliant on personal rapport and headline-grabbing summits, instead of hard-nosed diplomacy and diversified partnerships. As the world spotlight shifted, it became painfully clear. Global alliances are as fragile as the egos that shape them. Modi's gamble, betting on unwavering American support, was now being tested under the harsh glare of international scrutiny. Away from the flashing cameras and grand public gestures, the real damage was unfolding behind closed doors. High-level diplomatic channels buzzed with frantic calls and urgent messages as Indian officials scrambled to contain the fallout. Trusted allies grew distant, their responses colder, their support conditional. Leaked memos painted a sobering picture. What once seemed like steadfast partnerships were now revealed as transactional, driven by shifting interests rather than shared values. In Washington, backroom conversations grew tense. Promises of collaboration were quietly walked back, and joint projects were suddenly under review. At the United Nations, India found itself increasingly isolated, with former partners abstaining from key votes, or worse, siding against Indian interests. The illusion of unbreakable alliances was shattered, replaced by the harsh reality that in global politics, loyalty is fleeting, and self-interest reigns supreme. For New Delhi, it was a wake-up call. The need for strategic autonomy and diversified alliances had never been clearer. As the diplomatic dust settled, one question lingered. Could India rebuild trust, or had the damage already been done? Text overlay, the unraveling, public opinion, and the media storm. As diplomatic ties frayed behind closed doors, the world outside began to take notice. Major news outlets splashed headlines about India's growing isolation, fueling speculation and uncertainty. Primetime debates dissected every move, with analysts questioning the wisdom of recent decisions and the stability of long-standing alliances. Social media erupted with hashtags, memes, and heated arguments, some defending India's stance, others blaming leadership for the crisis. Public confidence wavered. Business leaders voiced concerns about market volatility and the impact on international trade. Students and professionals abroad worried about visa restrictions and shifting perceptions. The Indian diaspora found itself caught in awkward conversations, having to explain and sometimes defend their country's actions to skeptical colleagues and friends. In homes across India, families gathered around televisions, anxious and uncertain about what the future might hold. The sense of national pride was tempered by a growing awareness of how quickly circumstances could change on the global stage. The message was clear. In a world where alliances can unravel overnight, India would need resilience, adaptability, and a clear-eyed strategy to weather the storm ahead. Donald Trump, the man who once called India America's strongest ally, has now launched a full-blown attack on us. In a recent Truth Social post, Trump accused India of buying massive amounts of Russian oil, making profits by refining and reselling it, and ignoring the people dying in Ukraine. Then came the real blow, a 25% tariff on Indian exports, with threats of even higher penalties. This is coming from the same man who stood next to Modi at the Namaste Trump rally in Ahmedabad, waving to thousands as if they were best friends. That friendship didn't even survive one term. So, what's changed? Trump didn't change. He's always been the same. A transactional, narcissistic, ego-driven dealmaker who sees every country as a pawn. Modi misread the man. Let's break down Trump's post. He wrote, and I quote, "India is buying massive amounts of Russian oil, refining it, and selling it to other countries, making huge profits. They don't care how many people are dying in Ukraine." And then he justified the tariffs as a punishment for India's so-called betrayal. By subs peleto, hypocrisy ki bhi koi limit hoti hai. Is the US not buying Russian uranium? Are European countries not trading with Russia in fertilizers and energy products? When they do it, it's strategic. But when India buys crude oil for survival, it's betrayal? Let's talk facts. India imports over 85% of its crude oil. After the Ukraine war, global prices soared. The US pressured countries to stop buying Russian oil, but India made a sovereign decision to buy it at a discount to protect its citizens from inflation and energy insecurity. Russia now supplies over 35 to 40% of India's oil imports. That's not a luxury. That's economic survival. Even External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has said, India will do what is best for its national interest. But Trump wants India to shut down that pipeline just because it doesn't fit his narrative. Who is he to decide India's energy policy? Now let's talk hypocrisy. According to trade data, Europe still imports billions of dollars worth of goods from Russia, including uranium, gas, fertilizers, and luxury goods. The US buys enriched uranium from Russia for its nuclear power plants. That's a fact. But Trump doesn't talk about that. He points fingers at India, the one country that hasn't violated any international sanctions, hasn't sent weapons to Russia, and hasn't done anything illegal. It's clear. Trump isn't mad about the war. He's mad about control. He wants India to obey, not cooperate. Trump didn't stop at criticizing India. He announced a new oil and trade agreement with Pakistan, offering reduced tariffs and better market access. Yes, Pakistan, a country whose democracy is in shambles, whose economy is on life support, and which has openly supported the Taliban in Afghanistan. This isn't about values. This is about vengeance. Trump is rewarding Pakistan just to spite India. That's how petty this man can be. He called India's economy dead while shaking hands with a nation that's literally begging the IMF for its next meal. This is not geopolitics. This is a toddler throwing a tantrum. Let's take a look at how the world responded. Ukrainian President Zelensky slammed India, saying Modi's meeting with Putin was a devastating blow to global peace. Ukraine's foreign minister said that neutrality means siding with the aggressor. But Palki Sharma had a brilliant response on her show Vantage. She said, in just 24 hours, Trump called India a dead economy, made oil deals with Pakistan, and reignited old wounds. What does that say about his credibility? She exposed Trump's hypocrisy perfectly. A man who preaches global peace but sells arms worldwide. A man who once said America first now wants India to act against its own interests. Even Brahma Chalani, a strategic expert, said, Trump is letting China and the EU off the hook while punishing India for being self-reliant. This is selective outrage at its worst. When Modi invited Trump to India, there was genuine optimism. Two democracies, two strong leaders, working together. But Modi made one mistake. He treated Trump like a friend. Trump only saw leverage. The US-India partnership should be based on mutual respect. But Trump never saw India as equal. He saw it as a business opportunity. A deal. Now that India isn't playing by his script, he's throwing a tantrum. He was never our friend. Just a salesman in a red tie. There's an old geopolitical truth. Never trust America completely. Not just Trump. The American establishment has a long history of using allies and discarding them when convenient. They armed Pakistan for decades. They left Afghanistan overnight after 20 years of promises. They pressured India to isolate Russia while doing backdoor deals themselves. They talk about democracy, but stay silent on regimes they benefit from. Trump is just the loudest example of a pattern. Thankfully, India isn't bowing down. The Ministry of External Affairs has already dismissed Trump's rant as unreasonable and unjustified. India is moving forward with strategic autonomy, buying oil where it gets the best deal, building diplomatic ties where it suits our national interest. We're not here to be someone's satellite. India is not a pushover, and certainly not Trump's punching bag. Trump's name should be ceasefire, because every time things get tough, he blames others and backs out. He thinks he rules the world. He thinks he can bully nations with tweets and tariffs. But this time, India isn't listening. India is rising, with or without his approval. This episode is a reminder for all of us. Geopolitics is about interests, not emotions. And Trump's betrayal shows how quickly smiles turn into sanctions when you stop obeying. So next time someone says Trump is a friend of India, ask them this: what kind of friend threatens you for protecting your own people? If you found this breakdown eye-opening, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. The truth must be louder than the tantrums. This is Diplomatic Lens, signing off, with eyes wide open.